I'm screaming, doctor, doctor.
Oh, it's Wednesday, and that means we have a moment to chat with our favorite family physician, Dr. Stan Anderson. Good morning, Dr. Stan.
Hey, Pam, great to talk to you.
And welcome back. So glad to have you back with us this morning.
There's no place like home.
You clicking your little red heels today?
It's always good to get back. That's the biggest thing. We took a trip, went to Europe, and got a chance to see the way in which people do things differently in Europe. So I thought it would be fun to talk about some of the differences between the way in which we do things in the States and the way in which they do things in Europe.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Because sometimes and you know this from traveling, they look at us with the side eye, don't they? Sometimes.
Well, part of it is you can always tell an American in another country,
yes,
because they are almost always overweight. And the interesting thing is, the vast majority of people in Europe are normal weight. They, at least what you end up seeing in almost all of the tours, in almost all of the establishments that you go to. Americans tend to want what they want, and they tend to be pretty dramatic in wanting and getting what they want. And Americans tend to be more bullheaded, and we tend to be a little bit more overweight. It's just kind of interesting. In a crowd, you can almost always pick out the Americans when you were sitting around on a cafe, just looking at people passing by. It was just really interesting.
And why do you think that is? Just because we have no self-control and they do?
No, I know that's not it, because certainly they smoke a lot more, they drink a lot more, and I thought it would be nice to talk about that. But the difference is in public transportation, they do a lot more walking. Our last day was in Amsterdam, and oh my goodness, there are more bicycles than there are vehicles. So people get around the city using their muscles, and so that's part of it. The other part is the cost of food is a lot more. So if you go to a fast food establishment, you can assume that you're going to get a hamburger or something for somewhere between $5 to $10. But if you go to any cafe or any restaurant and you order a hamburger, generally it's going to be $20 to $30. So it's a lot more expensive for certain types of food. They do a lot more walking, and they also smoke a lot more. Something like 1/3 of the entire population smokes. And the more that people smoke, the less hungry they are, so more likely it is. That contributes to why they end up not having as much of a weight issue as we do.
Wow. So how do they not have as high a rate of cancer? Or do they? I mean, what does it look like with that stuff?
Yeah, so first off, I never saw that much cancer as they're just walking around, obviously.
Yeah.
They do have higher rates of lung cancer. So if you look at the statistics, it's roughly almost 100 for every 100,000 men, and roughly half of that, almost 50 for every 100,000 women. So it is higher rates. So the lung cancer statistics are definitely higher. The issue is also because they end up being in better fitness, it helps them with not having as much of the negative issues. So part of it is it looks like most of the people that live in the big cities, at least, they are walking more, they're smoking more, and they're drinking more. Alcoholism is a rough problem, significantly more. They are the heaviest drinkers in the world. So they drink a ton of alcohol. I mean, red wine is offered at almost every meal. So it's just kind of interesting. The number of people that don't drink at all, I had to look this up, is only about 1 in 5. So it's kind of interesting. In the U.S., it's 1 in 4. So we have less alcohol use. Still, the average American drinks somewhere around 500 alcoholic beverages a year. So it's roughly 1.5 alcoholic beverages a day. In Europe, it's roughly 2 alcoholic beverages per day. So whether they have a higher alcohol tolerance, don't know. Certainly, they end up getting a lot more nausea that goes along with it. That nausea contributes to not gaining as much weight. And so part of it is just the culture is different. The way in which they do things is different. So it ends up making a lot more of it's nice to see the way in which other people do things, but certainly there are problems that are associated with the lifestyle that they have if you drink and if you smoke. So the exercise is wonderful. Getting on a bike is amazing. Just getting around is really interesting. I would encourage anybody that what you should do is you should enjoy the fall. Everybody should try to take time to get out, to enjoy the outdoor weather on nicer days. So that's a critical way in which, and again, a lot of people that I talk to are dealing with a lot of stress of what's going on. So Europe is much closer to what's going on in the Gaza and the Israel, and then what's going on in Ukraine. They're a lot closer to that. They don't talk about it very much. They just hold it all in. So a lot of us, I mean, if you're like most people, I mean, while I was in Europe, I got so many emails and texts to vote for this candidate and vote for that candidate while I'm out of the country. It was just really interesting. So a best way to deal with the stress of what's going on this season is get out. Don't go to alcohol or smoking as your go-to. Instead, come up with healthy, good ways to enjoy the world.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And especially right now, I was just talking this morning about, are we already starting to think about the holidays and planning and the very stressful things that affect us? But we've got a day that's going to be 76 degrees outside.
Yeah.
At least get on the porch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do little things. The more that you can do little things, whether it's getting up, whether it's using your arms to adjust yourself, it's movement, it's exercise, it's activity. That's what's going to keep you going, and that's what makes life worth living.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you back, Dr. Stan, and appreciate the insight.
Hey, always good to talk to you, Pam.
Talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Look forward to it.